This is very...
I don't think I want to share the story actually.
I will go to my room, only me, crying because I didn't want other persons to see me crying. It's this whole thing. I mean, will I even get married?
It's very important. You're seeing someone, you can't even go 5 minutes away from the person. They're checking on you, they're finding out where you are, who are you talking to, they're snooping on your phone, right? Those are signs of insecurity, right? And you see, whether you call it obsession or whatever, it stems from low self-esteem, right? Because you see, insecure people see themselves as the center of the world. They live by what I call sectocracy, the government of the self, by the self, and for the self. So it's got to be about them and not about you. And so once you sense that in any relationship, no matter how desperate you are, I don't care if you say you're 40 and then that's the only person who has come into your life in 20 years of your existence, you need to run because you're about to enter a prison and not a marriage.
Okay. I told you this was going to be fun. I read government of the people, by the self, for the people, so many things already in this answer. I want to quickly go back on a couple of things that you said, and thank you for defining what obsession versus love is. I think there's really a thin line between both. So for someone who's currently in that situation right now, and you say run, how, some people, it's easy to say I'm out of it. Yeah. But if someone is obsessed with you, I assume that when you say I'm no longer interested, they're not just going to let you go like that. So what would be like practical tips that you can say for someone who's currently in that kind of relationship, how to extract themselves from that kind of relationship?
Unfortunately, there are some things I've seen in the world, in my practice, that it's actually shocking for me. That an adult, because the rule of a relationship is, a relationship, first of all, a voluntary organization. The rule in every voluntary organization is free entry and free exit. So I see adults walk themselves into a relationship, then it becomes very tough to walk out. It's a mystery. I mean, we've done every study. We still can't find out why that is so, right? It's so clear that this person is going to mess your life up, make your life miserable, but it's a tough call. And so it begins to mean that they themselves have certain unresolved trauma that they need to begin to work on. And so it's not as easy when we say, check out of that relationship, because people are never going to check out. Especially when there is no ready replacement when they check out, right? Because they will tell you, and that's why they'll make excuses. They'll say, it's very good. It just has one simple challenge. It gets angry easily. Or she's a very good lady. She just she's got uncontrollable anger, right? And so they are making excuses for the good side of the person, and then meanwhile they're not considering that the bad side is actually going to weigh them out. And so as a community, what we need to do is, first of all, to help the person. In fact, what I do is I will ask a couple of questions with some of my clients, and then I'll run a clear assessment that will be beyond every reasonable doubt show that you are on a suicide mission, right? And then you now need to guide them to actually exit, because the obsessed person never lets go easily. Some of them become very aggressive. Some of them can become, in fact, they can go as planning to assassinate you, right? It can be that bad, right? If you meet a really, really sick person who is obsessed, they can go to that extent. They can get into your house, without invitation. They will cry, they will fall sick, and that's what they usually do. So when they manifest their compulsive or obsessive tendency, right? They will cry and they'll say it's the devil. They say you are the only one who can help me. So they position you as a savior, right? And so it's like someone who is born again. I mean, you just won their soul to Christ, and then they begin to say to you that, oh, if you don't come and visit me, you are going to lose my soul. So it becomes rational. You think about, oh, I don't want this person to go to hell, so let me put myself in harm's way for the person. But I always tell people that, you're not Jesus Christ. You cannot die for someone else's sin, right? And so for that person who is in this kind of relationship, I would recommend check yourself in the counseling. You need someone to help you process it. And it's not something that you're going to do abruptly, right? You need to plan it, especially depending on the person you're dealing with. You need to plan it, and then we might need to surround them with some form of support system. right? The big problem is that while they are with the obsessed person, many of them have broken their support system. They've hurt so going back becomes a problem. So I usually would say, go apologize, right? Explain to them what you're dealing with, because support system will be very, very key with an obsessed when someone wants to get out of a relationship, because there are days that because they're used to talking to this person, so it's almost like they're addicted to talking to this person. And you see, addiction is an uncontrollable, compulsive appetite for an activity that keeps reoccurring, right? And so if you don't put a stopgap or put someone or two people who they can channel that energy to, it becomes a problem, because they will always go back. So they will tell you, okay, the person has accepted to go for counseling. The person is in therapy. And so I can consider him and things like that. And that's why perpetually they go back into that relationship. And so support system becomes very critical. If you know that person, they need to check in and work with a professional. And after that, we need to create a structure and a framework and a system that helps them totally break free from the prison they found themselves. Yeah.
Great answer. I see in that answer there were a couple of things. One thing stood out to me very, very clearly: the power of community. Right, that cannot be overemphasized in any relationship. So, yeah, I hope that helped someone, whoever asked that question. We're gonna, segue really quickly and move on to our married folks. A question for our married folks. And this is one question that I think would resonate with a lot of couples here. And the question says that, how do I navigate challenges when my partner and I have different love languages?
Love language is the way everyone tries to interpret love. And number one fact about love language is that your love language can change.
It can change.
Yes. So that's why we recommend that we run assessment for couples every year. Because your love language you can be someone who is given to words of affirmation, and you change a job, and your change of job, you can be working with a boss that subliminally you don't know that your love language has changed, and your spouse is still thinking of the old thing, and meanwhile it's totally a different ballgame, right? And so take for instance someone whose love language is words of affirmation, then joins the military, right, where it's command and command and command and command. You spend so much time in the military that whether they affirm you, in fact, they hardly affirm you, it's obey the last instruction and whatever. And then you come back home and then words of affirmation no longer, because acts of service is what because you are now battle buddies, and so it can change, and the way you interpret love can change. And a lot of people don't understand that. So if you are still living with the old thing that your language that your spouse speaks, and then if they have evolved new ones, it becomes a problem. And then there are people, when we run the assessment, who have elevated scores in all the 5 love languages. Now, the problem with those people is that their spouse is going to get confused about how they really want to be loved, right? Because this minute you want touch, next minute you want acts of service, so we don't know what to apply at the time, right? And so it depends on where people are, but what we always say is that what you need to do consistently, if you don't have access to the assessment, ask your spouse, how would you want me to love you? Right? How would you want me to love? What does love mean to you? Is a question you need to ask consistently, right? And so, how would you want me to correct you? Right? You need to do that as a matter of fact, because what your spouse complains about the most is how they want to be loved. And so, I know that as Christians we live by the golden rule, which says treat people the way they want to be treated, but then we have what we call the platinum rule, which says treat people the way they want to be treated. Right? So it's not the way I want to be treated. I need to ask you, how do you want to be loved? So if you say to me that, what gives you the highest moment with me is when I give you a gift, then it's about the frequency of the gift, not even the quality or how expensive the gift is. And so I need to know that when I don't speak your love language, I am not making enough deposits. And so when it's time for you to withdraw, there may not be enough credit to your account to make withdrawal, right? And so it's not about me, it's about pleasing my partner and ensuring I do the things that make them happy. Now, I know that culturally, and then depending on the culture you belong to, some people find certain love languages difficult to speak. For example, a lot of African men, will struggle to defer to a lady whose love language is act of service, because it would look like she's sending them on errand. It would look like you are one to turn. Full disclosure. So I'll give you a typical example. When I first got married, my wife's love language was act of service, and then I would be in our room, and then be doing something, maybe on my laptop or something. Then my wife calls me to the kitchen and says, "Sweetheart, can I have you here?" Now the kitchen is a bit distant from the room. Then I go to the kitchen. Then she says to me, "Can you help me with the knife?" Now, this knife is beside her. It was easier for her to pick this knife than call me all the way to come and help her pick a knife that was beside her. It can be very upsetting, and, at that moment, what is inside of you, you can't even say it out, right? But I learned that it wasn't the knife, right? She needed a reassurance that, hey, I'm with you and I love you, was why she needed to come and pick the knife, right? And then, when she has to send you on errands, all kinds of errands, can you help me go here? Can you help me go here? Can you help me go here? If you don't have enough love or enough knowledge to understand that that's how she interprets love, it can be a problem for you, right? So what I always say is communication. Communication is the bedrock of every relationship. Couples need to have, you don't assume anything, right? And that's why I often recommend what we call open day for every family or for every couple once a week. Open day must happen same time, same day, every week. Now, open day is a day where you are free to say whatever you want to say the way you want to say it. Now, the rules during open day is that number one, no one can be angry, right, at what is said. Two, whatever is said cannot be used against the person that said it. Number three, you can't be defensive during open day. And number four, if what is said is significant, you need to make efforts to change. Right? And so with open day, you prevent pent-up emotion, pent-up anger. You prevent a situation where you don't know how your spouse will be loved, because they will clearly communicate what they're trying to say. Right? And so I know that, and it's not as easy as I've said it, because the first day, open day might be chaotic, depending on how blunt your spouse can be. Mine was very chaotic because it was open day, and then my wife said that I was irritating her. Right? So you irritate me, and I was like, "What did I do?" She said, "Because you're always rushing your food, and then your cutlery is always making noise." Honestly, I didn't know I was rushing my food. Then when she said it, it dawned on me that growing up, I grew up in a family of 7, and we had cousins and family members who lived with us, so there were like 14 in the house thereabout. And then while growing up, we ate rice twice a week, right? Because my father's favorite meal was pap, right? And we didn't like pap. But those days of rice, you had to eat it as if, your life was going to, So, but the problem was the people that finished their rice on time will come and join you to finish all. So my survival strategy to defeat the enemies was to rush. So I'd rushed my food consistently, and I'd become unconsciously competent at rushing it, that even when the enemies disappeared, I was still rushing. Right? And so, but the moment she said it, and that was irritating her, I would rather do what is right and insist on my right. And so, remember, you can say whatever you want to say the way it comes to you. Right? So I told her, "Okay, I'm sorry, I'm going to make adjustment within the next 2 weeks." Right? And I did. By the next whatever, she said, "Oh, okay, it's better." And so sometimes, your wife can say to you during open day, "I don't feel loved." You say, "How do you want me to love you?" So when was the last time you brought me a gift? When was the last time you didn't prioritize? Well, so communication helps couples. And I say that don't leave anything to chance in your relationship, because if you assume that you know what your spouse wants, you might run into trouble, especially when their love language has shifted a little bit, right? And so that's what I think.
Great. Who really enjoyed that answer? I think it was really, really helpful. I got so many things out of this. You don't insist on your rights when you or how did you say it?
Yeah, you don't insist on your right, you do what is right.
You do what is right. And then open day, couples, are you taking downloads? Open day institute, if you don't have one going on in your house. That was really great. Anyone have any question on that answer? Any follow-up question? I think it might be great if we had any questions? Okay, great. Awesome. So we're going to move on.
Okay, I have a follow-up question here.
Okay.
He said, how do you deal with a husband that doesn't communicate with his wife and anytime you try to complain about something, it flares up?
Well, the question I'm going to ask is that a recent behavior, or has it always been like that? Now, if it has always been like that, then what you do is you create a strategy to help him and for you to find your way to get what you want, right? If it's a recent behavior, it will be going through some pressure that is not communicating, and depending on the environment you've created. Unfortunately, not many of us can create an environment where a man can be honest. You know, when people say that men don't talk, it's not true. Men talk. But men talk to people who are non-judgmental, right? Men talk to their battle buddies. Men, go to the bar, you see men talk. They talk about everything and everything. But men are very real when they want to talk. And so their being real can become a problem to someone who is not a bit open-minded, right? And so if they sense that you don't have the capacity to handle what they're going to say, then they keep it to themselves, right? So it could be going through a bit of a challenge, and so you might want to find out how you can help. But if it's always been like that, I would suspect that your husband is, so again, I don't have access to his personality assessment, which is what we usually run when couples come in, right? If I run his personality assessment, most likely that behavior could be what we call a systematic fraud or dependable truck. Now, a systematic fraud is what you guys call male, I think, and then dependable truck is what you call phlegmatic, right? They are really, in within themselves. They will hardly communicate about issues, because they try to resolve it within themselves. Now, if that is your spouse, and he will not open up about things, he will not face issues and stuff like that. And what you now need to begin to do is to start to activate, the best way that you can get them to open up or address issues with you. Now, a lot of our men, and that's the biggest problem we have in North America, especially for African men. Now, in the UK, I was working in the UK in April, and we were looking at processing the data of divorce in the UK. And we realized that 48% of the people who filed for divorce, right, cited unreasonable behavior. And out of those, over 90% of them were African immigrants, right? And so we're trying to find out what was unreasonable behavior. Unreasonable behavior was described as a situation where the behavior our men had in Africa, when they moved to a first world country, they still wanted that. So you can imagine a guy in the US who still wants his wife to cook 3 times every day, right? And then the one says go to work. And so that became what they call unreasonable behavior. So a lot of our people, without an expanded awareness or a community that begins to help them understand that, one of the things that will happen when you move from Africa is regarded as a third world country, and then Africa is not system-based. Africa is emotional, right? Here, it's built on system. Women are malleable. Women take into the system faster than our men, right? And so a lot of men, instead of expressing to their wife that I think you're changing, I think the system is changing you, right? Because she's adapting to the system, what they do is silent treatment, right? And so they are angry. The real thing that is getting them angry, they are not talking about it. And then they begin to behave in a manner. And unfortunately, many of us never go for counseling until the matter is like stage 4 or stage 5 cancerous kind of thing, right? And so what I'm going to do is I'll ask that lady to approach the man and to ask him if there is anything you would want me to change or improve on, what would it be? Let me say this to you. A lot of men are most vulnerable when they think they're in charge, right? So if you think that you're losing control and maybe you are trying to share limelight with him, which should be the normal thing, right? It's going to be giving those kind of tantrums. But when you now appear to him like he's king and then you are a subject, right? Remember, it's strategy. That's not reality, right? And then he may say, okay, I don't want this. I don't like this. You are very, at least you will hear for the first time what is dealing with. And when he says that, you will now ask him, how do you see me, right? If you have what to describe me, do you see me as your partner, as your friend, as a slave, or how exactly, right? You want to hear him talk. When he answers that question, he will not likely say you are a slave. Most likely say you're a partner, you are a friend. okay, if we're friends, if I'm your friend or I'm your wife and I'm your partner, how do you think I should be treated? Right? And how would you want to be corrected? It's questioning, right? Because that's what you need to do. Don't try and give an opinion. Ask questions, leading questions, open-ended questions. You will get him to talk. Once you get to the point, I'm sure you will get to a place, and whatever he said he wants you to change, do it, right? Do it to make him feel excited. You are using dream out of your shell. Doesn't mean that's what you're going to do for the rest of your life. It's just a strategy. I mean, we've deployed those strategies with a whole lot of women, and they began to win with their men, right? But if it's not that he's dealing with some stress, that is not able to communicate, or maybe is feeling like a failure, maybe he's not able to achieve his goals, something like that. If it's a personality issues, there are ways you can bring that out. But there is always someone a man talks to, especially if he has a mentor over his life. You might want to activate this mentor, who can call both of you and find out whatever is good. But in the absence of that, you go ask questions. I'm sure he will talk.
Awesome. That was very helpful. Thank you so much for sharing. Okay, we have a question up here. How do you cope with a husband that takes up his responsibilities but doesn't take time to ask what the wife actually wants and just assumes the wife should be okay with his plans, and when she tries to talk to him, he flares up?
Okay, so this question, if I have to work with this couple, I will first run what we call a culture compatibility test. A culture compatibility assessment reveals the belief system of both of the couple. Now, I'll tell you for free. When we run culture compatibility test, there are a couple of questions that we're playing on people's mind in there. And so if you see a question like, a man is superior to a woman, do you agree or disagree? 90% of the men say they agree. 90% of the women say they disagree. A wife is superior, a husband is superior to his wife. The men agree. The women disagree. It is the duty of the woman to cook for the family. The men agree. Some of the women disagree, some of the women agree. Right? A man must be the breadwinner and a man must solely provide for his family. More women disagree. Right? Some of the men agree. Now, when you can't have the same answer on those statements, then you have this kind of problem. Now, I'll tell you what's going on here. The woman wants shared responsibility, wants to be a joint heir, partnership. But the guy doesn't see you as a partner, right? And so, the men who say that a man is superior to a woman, for those of them who are Christians, when I ask them, where did you get this from? They say from the Bible. Okay, show me from the Bible, Genesis 1:26. And God said, let us make man in our image. Then I say that they stopped it. And I said, can you continue reading? And they said, let them have dominion. I said, why is not saying let him have dominion? Because it will presuppose that the word man there is not male. Because what they are reading is, and God said, let us make male in our image. And let male have dominion. That's what they are reading. That's what they're interpreting. Now, so I said to them, can we study it further? And then we find out that it's saying, let us make humanity or mankind in our image and let them, male and female, created in them. So it was talking to male and female. Oh, then they'll say, oh, I never saw it that way. Because culture has reinforced that they are superior. I mean, if you live in Africa, you know that you would have seen, let's say you have a lady who is an executive director, it's a C-suite, right? And then she's not married. You will see some men gather, they will say it's because she's not submissive. That's why she's not married. That's why no man wants to marry her. Submissive to who? Right? Because there is something, and it's some of the things that have been wrongly taught. Part of what has been wrongly taught over the years is that a man has got ego and you must manage the ego. It's not true. Every human being has got ego. The ego has got to be managed. Another thing that has been wrongly taught is that men are logical, women are emotional. It's not true. Every human being has got logic and has got emotion. The one you have utilized the most is the one that becomes most pronounced. So the logic of men became more pronounced because in the ancient times, And in the recent past, women did not really feature in the boardroom. They were more in the bedroom and at home, right? And now that women are finding expression in the boardroom, their logic is becoming more pronounced. And that's why if I take a survey here right now, and I ask for women who think they are more logical than emotional, hands will go up, right? And so this man needs a bit of expanded awareness because it's not his fault. He's not a wicked guy. He's been socialized and conditioned to live this way, and his belief has been reinforced by everything he's seen. So he comes to church, for example, he doesn't see any woman pray. He doesn't see women pastor. So he reinforces the fact that a man is superior to a woman. He goes to the boardroom. He realizes that men are the ones who are there. He looks around all the head of states in the world. More men. So something says to him, a man is superior to a woman. Right? So by the time he marries you, even though is by the time he was dating you, it's looking like, okay, we're together, we're doing everything together. But the day you say, yes, I do, right? The following day is going to ask for breakfast, right? Because he's assuming that he didn't just marry a wife, he married a cook. And he married everything, all in all. So you do not blame him. Don't judge him. Understand that this person has a software that has been installed. And until you uninstall that software, there's not going to be a change. And so the process of uninstalling a software again is going in penitence and asking questions. Because he's making plans because he thinks he's the head of the family. And so headship to him is not, he doesn't understand the definition of headship because headship is not the smartest, headship is not the richest, headship is not the best. Headship is simply a servant leader who creates an enabling environment where the potential of everyone can find expression. Now, until we shift his definition to that, he will keep manifesting this behavior. So again, you might need to go to him and say to him straight out, I want to say something, and I don't want you to get upset. I want to just express my mind and how I feel, right? And I could be wrong, but this is the way it comes to me. And then go ahead and tell him exactly how you feel, right? And then hear what he has to say. If it's, I'm sure if you say the right way, he will say to you, like, sorry, that's not what he sees, but that's what you see. And so you can now recommend what are the activities. So, for example, if I was working with these people, I would recommend certain activities to say, exercise together, for example. Do some meals together. Alternate cooking together. Because those are activities that begin to show that what I married is a human being that I want to respect and not a thing I want to use.
Right. Yeah. Awesome. Okay, in the interest of time, I know we're getting questions, so quick fire. How do you cope with a husband that doesn't plan the future with you? When you try to talk to him about it, he tells the wife to bring her money if she wants to plan for the future.
So again, it goes back to what is your family vision? This is a question of family vision. This family has got no vision, right? And so a vision is, like it says, a mental picture of a preferred future. And so when we do family governance system, we ask couples to write their vision for the family. Almost all the Christian couples, they have a vision, but they write it down, and they write different things. Now, when you don't write the same vision word for word, then you don't have a vision. Because you can both mean well, but you will self-implode, right? So let's say that you're my wife, and then your vision for the family is that you want to raise a godly family. And then I'm your husband, my vision is that I want to raise a prosperous family. Unknown to both of us, we are headed in different directions, even though we both mean well. So we are holding each other. So you are going that way, I'm going this way. Then we begin to struggle. That's friction in a relationship. Then the most powerful person drags the other person to follow him. She walks reluctantly to follow him, right? So she begins to frustrate his plans. Then he gets upset. Then after a while, she breaks away from him. That's what they call divorce. But it started because we didn't have a unified vision. See, without a unified vision, your family structure is going to be wrong. Your family values is going to be wrong. Your framework is going to be wrong. People are going to suffer in that relationship because vision has not been defined. So in this family, both of them need to come together. And so what I'll do for them is I'll say, if all your dreams for this family will come to pass, what would it look like? Let the wife write separately. Let the husband write separately. If they have grown-up children who are like 10 and above, I will get them into that task as well. Now, from whatever they provide, we will create a family vision for them and show them like 5 options. If they approve one, their entire family system is now going to be built on what is approved, which includes their family values, their DNA print of the family, the legends of the family culture, the routines and the rituals has to be created. That's the only way you can resolve this issue.
Okay, awesome. Are we getting a lot from this?
Yeah.
Are we getting a lot? Yeah, okay, great.
Yes.
Thumbs up. Oh, great, awesome. Okay, we are going to keep chugging along here. What can I do if I feel like the spark has faded in my relationship or marriage?
Okay, so what we do is we check. When the spark was there, what were the things you were doing? The things you were doing when the spark was there, most likely you stopped doing them. So they are the things you need to reignite.
And life happens.
So life happens, right? And then you stopped those things. And so when you stop doing those things, what were you expecting life to now give to you? Right? It's like saying you were working out because you want to develop six packs or you want to get healthy. Then life happens. You stop working out. Then your body begins to break down. Then you believe that your old exercise you have done will suffice. It never works. You have to get back to the exercise. See, relationships are built and they are maintained. There is nothing like vacuum where you just leave it and you say, I'll stop doing what I need to do. If you were writing love letters, you stop writing. There was how the love letter was making the person feel. If you stop writing it, they stop feeling what they used to feel until you start writing the letters again. Right? And so it's very, very easy. Go back to the activities that you used to do. And for those of us who live in North America, I always tell people that even your romance has got to be planned, because this system can totally mess you up, that your quest to pay bills can make relationship and romance very secondary. So you've got to plan it. You have to have your date every month that you're going to do whatever you're going to do at whatever minimum level, right? You have to have your routines. So you have annual routines, you have biannual routines, you have quarterly routines, you have monthly routines, weekly routines, and daily routines. Remember, depending on what that is for you, right? And then you need to make sure you block those dates and set your alarm so that nothing coincides with it or nothing clashes with it. So that's what you basically need to do, right? But I think open day will serve. I'll recommend open day for those couples, so that, because when they say that people divorced, it started by failing to do the things they used to do that strengthen their relationship. So once you stop one, you stop the other one, it's only a matter of time. You just wake up and after 25 years of being together, they just say, we don't feel it anymore. They say they don't feel it anymore. So it's become a feeling. Meanwhile, love is not a feeling, right? Feeling can be part of it. It's possibly a decision that is built on a commitment to add value to someone else, right? And so it now is reduced to, I don't feel it. So they want to feel the spark with someone else. And it's only a matter of time before the devil introduces someone into your life. Who gives you that spark?
Right. Great. Love is not a feeling, it's a decision. I hope you're getting, everyone, I hope you're taking notes. So I'm not taking notes here, so I'm going to come and collect notes after service. Okay. This, I think, is similar to a question we've taken in the past. What are practical tips to help a struggling marriage where the couple, even though they live together, and I think you've spoken to this, but this is more.
Yeah, but I mean, this
pretty
couple,
much live separately.
I would like to run a marital assessment on them. Right? Someone is assuming that the relationship is good, while the other person is thinking that the relationship is bad. I mean, I ran an assessment last week for a couple, and the man actually thought that marriage was good. So when he ran the marital assessment, it's called 85%. 85% is excellent. That's one of the highest I've ever seen. The woman rated the marriage 8. 8 is classified as coma. She was already on her way out of the marriage. In fact, when I was doing that debriefing, I asked the woman, were you planning to file for a divorce? She said she started speaking to a divorce lawyer. And this guy was testifying about their marriage, that the marriage was good. Right? And so, what is happening here is that they're not trapping. And if I can almost safely predict what is going on here. Right? And so, here, I would like to run, it's most likely there is someone who is traumatized in this relationship and projecting the trauma of the relationship. Mm-hmm. Right? Let me say this to us. And that's why when we do premarital now, premarital counseling is no longer, oh, you won't get married, this is what you do in marriage. No. The first thing we assess is the mental state of the two people coming together. Because a lot of people have been destroyed or damaged before they step into marriage. They were damaged by the trauma from their upbringing, from the environment, and the significant emotional experience they've been through. And they are not aware. So because they could still pass the exam, they can buy a house, buy a car, people assume they are fine. They are not fine. Right? And so if you don't heal, that trauma is going to trouble the relationship. So there's a lot in here that we need to figure out what's going on, right? And then they need to literally set up a family structure all over again, which would mean, what is your family vision, right? What are our family values? What is the DNA of a family? What are the legends of our family, which we started teaching Africans in diaspora right now? And then what are the activities that will must promote that can deliver the family vision? Basically, those are the things these people need. Without that, it's only a matter of time, right? Someone will just keep dying there, and then the other person will just think that things are okay, right? But if you have a mentor, please seek your mentors. I would always recommend, please, I don't mind who you're going to work with, find a family life professional who can run a marital assessment on every couple annually. It will help you know exactly where you are at. Because sometimes, in fact, sometimes the personality types have changed and they're not aware. Sometimes the love language that has changed and they're not aware. Sometimes some basic things have changed, right? The assessment never lies because it helps you see exactly what's going on, right? So that's what I think they need to do. They practically needs to rebuild.
Great. This couple will need to rebuild. What's the next question here? How can I improve sexual communication and understanding with my partner?
Sex is communication. Communication, so when people say they have bedroom issues, I know it's a communication problem, right? And so sexual relationship or sexual communication follows the three-course order. You place your order, they deliver the order, you eat the order, then you review the order.
I've never heard of it.
Right? So it's basically preview, view, review. Right? Preview is what do you want. You don't go to a restaurant, which is what a lot of couples do. Imagine you go to a restaurant and then you are planning to eat, let's say, an African meal like amala. And then they come to serve you burger. Are you going to eat it? Even if you're hungry.
The hunger, why are you
Huh? You're not going to eat
Probably
it.
not.
What are you going to ask them?
Is this my order?
Did I place this order? But why isn't that what we do in the bedroom? We don't ask for the order. We just serve whatever we want to serve, assuming. So we serve apple where the person wanted something. And then during the menu, while eating it, there's no communication to say, oh, how is this order? Is it okay? Do you want some other, do you want sides? Right? That conversation is not done. Then one person is okay and is done. Then he begins to snub. No review. To say, how did I do? So no report card. So how do you improve when you don't try? Right. So I would recommend that first they need to check their communication normally, normal communication. And then, so there is this tool we use, we call it the Couples Users Manual. You know, I was writing a Couples Users Manual for a church. So they got all their couples to do it. And Users Manual is a document that states who you are, brand promise, what people get when they come in contact with you, how your sexual fantasies, your deal breakers, you know, how you get angry, how you recover from anger, everything is there, you've written it. And so when the couple finished it, and I asked them to exchange it, the sexual fantasies was the most important for all of them. Because there were things that the husbands communicated that he wanted that the wife did not know he ever wanted. That she also wanted, but she felt he was going to look at her as a sinner if she asked for it. So it meant that they were not coming, so everybody was pretending until that moment, right? And so it's always important. I always say that couples don't talk about money and they don't talk about sex. Maybe they're probably not saying anything. They are cohabiting, right? So it's important for you to have conversations to say, let's review our sex life. How is it? Are there things we want? And never forget that many of us who were born again, the way we were introduced to sex was also faulty, right? And so if your first sexual, whatever was Playboy, you're going to have a sexual orientation of playboy, right? And so you want to say it, and some spouses are not even aware. They don't know how. They don't, I mean, you know how many times churches call me and they say, oh, this couple, they were virgins, married as virgins, they honeymoon, they don't know what to do. Right? Yes. So it means that some people don't even understand their body to start with. Right? So I would recommend that you sit and ask questions to say, oh, if you have to rate me in our sex life, in the last 10 years I've been married, what will be your rating? And I'm going to rate you as well. And you need to be very honest. Right? So if your rating is 2, okay? So why are you rating me 2? Because I don't feel anything. So what must I do to feel something? Some people are frigid. We need to understand that is, they don't feel it. And some people don't even know the erogenous zone. So in that case, we recommend sensate focus, right? And sensate focus is basically you strip your partner naked and then you run your hand from their head to their toes quietly, right? And then at every point you ask them, how does this make you feel? Right? If you do that gently, you'll be able to pick the erogenous zones and the ones that are more pronounced than the other, right? And because sex is giving pleasure to your partner, and it's not just about you, it's about them. And so it's always best to communicate so that you know the expectations, and then to take your report card after delivering the order.
Awesome, great. I hope we're gleaning a lot too. We're gleaning. Okay, awesome. Next question.
Where there is resentment, you
yes.
talk about.
Yes, okay. How does a marriage get back to a healthy and happy place if there is unhappiness, resentment, and general lack of love? I know that we've talked a lot about, just the state of marriages in general, and communication is a key word that you keep throwing out there in terms of that. But is there anything that you can
I want to find out what is your definition of love when you say lack of love, right? That's the first question I want to ask in there. Unhappiness, what does that mean to you? And resentment, what does that mean? I will say that we always think that we're going to feel love based on what someone else does. Right? So I was working with a woman who said that her spouse calls her, what's the word again? Useless. And so she began to resent him. She began to become unhappy, and she said the man doesn't love her. So I was in therapy with her, and then I asked her to write the word useless. And I told her there were 2 words there. What were those words? Use and less. So I asked her to flip the word. It said less use. So I said, what's the meaning of less use? She said, when someone doesn't have the capacity to maximize you. So I said, would it be like your husband was announcing all the while that he doesn't have the capacity to maximize you and you thought he was insulting you? So I never saw it that way. Because you see, every human being is a meaning-making machine. The meaning you interpret to give to anything is your meaning, right? And so, what I always say to people is that you must never abdicate your happiness into the hands of someone else, not even your husband. Because whosoever can get you angry or can make you happy can also get you angry. Yep. And so, if your happiness is in my hand, why would I want to make you happy? Right? So the first thing I'm going to say to this person, we need to take your happiness away from you. And then, most likely there are a few behaviors that you are focused on. And that's not the total story. Right? So if I ask this person right now, can we draw a table? On side 1, write what is good about your spouse. 2, write what is bad about your spouse. I know the bad list will be longer. But when I scrutinize the bad list, I can tell you that the good list will be longer. This is usually what happens. Write the good things about your husband. Oh, he's responsible at home. He pays rent. He takes care of us. They just write like 4 things. What is bad about him? He likes women. He's an adulterous person. He follows everything in skirt. He's committing fornication. You know those 5 things is still one. Right? And so, you realize that what he focused on is that thing that is bad. And once you focus on what is bad, whatever you behold, you become. You're going to exaggerate and magnify it. So they magnified it such that they no longer see the good. We do it with children as well. And so what we do is we need to shift this person's energy and focus to begin to look at what is good while not undermining what is bad, but to create a narrative. So instead of saying my spouse is a useless person or is a bad person, right? I will ask, what is good about him? Oh, he says he's an excellent person, he's successful at work, and so let's put success there. What is bad about him is very nasty, he talks anyhow to you. Okay, if we summarize that, it means he's troubled. That's why he's doing that, right? Do you think he has a good future that he can change this? Well, he can change it. So again, we change the narrative. So say, my spouse is an excellent man who is presently troubled, but on his way to wholeness. Once you change that narrative, we have replaced is a useless man, is a stupid man, right, to that, right? You realize that you begin to deal with empathy as against judgment. Because what is happening to this person is that he's troubled. And you see, traumatized people always traumatize other people. So if he's troubled, what we're thinking is, how do we help him overcome the trouble? As against, because if that is your MO, then it changes what you feel, right? Then we'll now create how you can be happy by yourself, for yourself, regardless of, as a matter of fact. Data has now proven that when people in this kind of relationship, when they find their own happiness in it, and they are extremely happy by themselves, for themselves, they get the attention of the person who is me. Yeah, so I work with a woman whose husband was always talking her down. So I said to her, can we picture him as someone who's just joined Hollywood? And then his acting is the main cast in the movie called The Angry Husband. So I said, every time he throws a tantrum, see him as if he's acting the role and rehearsing the role. Say, what would? Say, I'll just be watching, and then I'll be smiling. I can even correct how he's acting. And that was what she started doing. And this guy got up one day and said, what happened to you? You no longer get angry? He said, because I assume that I'm in therapy, I assume. And said, oh, I want to work with that therapist because it takes two people to fight, really. Right. If you want to fight now, don't say they fight. We can't fight. Right? So that's what we need to do. We focus on the person who has shown up and we fortify them to develop capacity to handle whatever they're dealing with.
Awesome, great, really great answer. We are running out of time. Really quick. I think I'm going to just pass it on to Praise Fowowe. As we close out, I would like this. I'm sorry. Whoa, okay, I see it now. What should be the frequency of sexual intimacy for couples that have been married for more than 10 years?
There's no hard and fast rule. I think you should have sex more, as often as you can, if there's no medical issue. After 10 years, your marriage is still young.
At 10 years.
At 10 years, marriage is young. Some people have done 20, some of them have done 30, and they still having good sex life. Right? I think if two people are into themselves, they will have sex anytime, any day. Right? Except maybe if you're beginning to have erectile issues or something. So there is no anything to have sex every time, as often as you can, because it bonds both of you and helps you relax. Yeah.
Did you hear that? Have sex every time. You have the free reign to go do what you like. Next question.
You say your husband is not here.
What was that?
Except the husband is not here. If the husband is not here, then that's a different ballgame entirely.
Yes, that's a different ballgame.
Because America is lonely. I'm sure you know.
Okay, great. And any other questions? I think we don't have any other questions. I don't see any other questions.
No hand.
No other questions. Great. A lot has been said today, and I hope you got a lot out of this session. Oh, there's a question. Thank you. Can we have the microphone? Bomi has a question too.
Thank you for this opportunity. I'm asking for someone whose husband is not in America.
Yes.
How do they cope? How do they keep it together?
How long have they been apart?
I think for 7 years.
And they've not seen at all?
At all.
That's it.
Immigration issues.
That marriage is under serious threat. It's under serious threat. I've seen that. I have clients who are in that space. I know that we're trying the best for our family because of immigration and stuff, but whatever thing you have to do, you have to plan it very well. The only thing that can save that marriage is if they built a system from the get-go. Because I'm going to wonder, for example, who are the children with? And that partner is America, the other one maybe I assume is Africa. You know, how are they coping sexually? Right? Are they using sex toys? Are they doing phone sex? But even that's not enough, right? And so it's a major, if it's something that we can have access to, we can have a conversation. There are ways that have now been researched that can hasten this immigration thing for some of them, right? Because I'm always that families should be together. I mean, 7 years is as good as the divorce. You know.
Age long.
Sorry?
That's age long.
It's age long. Because let me tell you what they don't understand. They are not the same people.
No.
Even if they come together.
Ah.
Right? They're not the same people. One person is already American, first world. The other person is still African, third world. It's already, the number of years it will take them to adjust to themselves when they come together, it's going to take a whole lot more. Right? And so, I don't know what you have a follow-up.
Yes, I do.
Yeah.
So you talked about how are they coping sexually. You mentioned sex toys and
Yes.
phone sex.
Yes.
As a Christian, is that
Okay, so where the Bible is silent, we're silent. You know, there's no verse of the Bible that says that do not stand in the front of the road when the 911 lorry is approaching.
that's right?
You know, it's not in the Bible. Okay, so
Use
you need to use sanctified common sense, right? What I do as a professional is that you see, when people come to me and they're asking this question and say, as a Christian, you know, what should I do? I don't ask them, I don't tell them what to do. What do you want to do? Because I know they want to do something. They're only looking for validation and endorsement. In fact, some of them are already doing something, right? And so it's not in my place to tell adults what to do. And neither will I tell you what to do in your bedroom. But I'm going to put myself in your position. So if I say, if a lady comes to me and says, "Praise, I'm getting sexually tempted. My husband is in Nigeria. I'm here, and I can use sex toy. I have the option of sex toy or to go and commit adultery." Right? Am I going to tell her to go and read a Bible?
No.
When I have my own wife, I'm going to go back to my wife. Winter is going to come. What's she going to go to? Right? And so I am very pragmatic and a realist. I don't like people under unnecessary bondage. But I'll tell them, these are the options. These are the pro and con of this option. It will be left for you to. And you can actually have that conversation with your spouse. To say, you know what, this is, I'm burning. This is what I think can help me. And both of you can be reasonable about it and agree. But I tell you, 7 years is a long, long time. I don't know what the plan is. Please, let's find every means of resolving. Even if you're in America, if what they can do is to move to Canada, at least you can, again, I don't know if you have papers to now go to Canada, right? But whichever way, there must be a way. There must be some country close by that you can be meeting. It's just that you're going to spend a lot of more money. But please, whosoever is in this person, let the person sit, Pastor Bode. They might be able to, I might be able to sit with them and help them. I've helped quite a number of couples in that situation with some other approaches that has helped. For 7 years is a long time.
Thank you so much, sir.
Yeah.
Great question. Anyone else? Anyone else? Okay, as I would want to give you some time, just about 2 to 3 minutes.
Yes.
I know we've run out of time, but I wanted you to close out on anything that you think that you wanted to.
Okay. Now, so I'm going to be speaking to you as my people, because the rate of divorce in our community is high at the moment. I have maybe about 11 cases. I have 3 guys who are clinically depressed because their wives have chased them out of the house. All right, and so it's becoming very rampant. And I have a lot of children who maybe have been withdrawn or something from their parents. I want us to understand something, that we did not come from Africa here to come and destroy ourselves. And so community becomes very critical. Now, the way marriage is done in Africa is different from the way it's done here. This environment is can subliminally influence you so that your beliefs begin to change. And so if you don't belong to a community where they can call you to order, you're going to run into trouble. It's only a matter of time. And so I am going to say to us that the way America is structured, divorce is nothing. As a matter of fact, polyamory is nothing. You can begin to rationalize some things that are sinful as a norm. And so I am going to appeal to every couple here and every family here. Do everything you can to make sure your family works. I started teaching classes on family governance system for people in America, right? Because America is systems driven, systems powered. And that's why you can't escape certain things. And so your family has got to be upgraded to become systems based. What that would mean is you need to be clear about your family vision, you need to be clear about your family values, you need to be clear about the DNA creed, and then you need to have a family legend. And I'll explain that a little bit. Now, when you meet Indians and you ask them about their great-great-grandfather, they can tell you their story. If you meet Jews, they can tell you. Every time I've run sessions and I asked every African in the room, tell me the name of your great-great-grandfather, the man in the fourth generation. Maybe 1% knew. Now, if you don't remember that person who was in the fourth generation, most likely the people after you in the fourth generation will not remember you. And it's because we don't pass our stories down. Now, why a lot of our children have esteem issues and they get into drugs and many of those things is the imbalance in their identity. Identity comes when you know your story, when you know your heritage, and when you understand your identity, and family is what can give that. So you need to curate your story. Let your children, if you're from a royal family in Africa, curate it, spice it up, so that your children know the story. Create your family governance system to follow that order. So in fact, if you are from a royal family, let your child wear a bead, so that when they go to school, say, why are you wearing? It's not fashion. I'm a chief or I'm a king. It speaks to the core of their identity. Once they can master their identity, they will not be susceptible to everything that is being thrown at them, including drugs and whatever. But above all, let's do everything we can to stay together. This is the house of God. We have pastors, we have groups. Please, let it not be that families are suffering and nobody can call them to order till they now go through divorce and it becomes messy and someone is depressed, someone is suicidal. I think the house of God can stem the tide. So I wish you all the best. And please, in case there is anything we can do to support, we'll gladly provide all the support. But let's know that we are the next big thing that will happen in America. African immigrants, we are the next big thing. But we need to create a community that must be together, right? So that when it's that time, we can all look at our children and be proud of what we've done. Thank you very much.